This is my fifth place Infernoid regional deck at the Brooklyn Regional at Aviator Sports, hosted by Bulletproof Comics. I piloted Infernoids, 8 rounds straight of wins, followed by one loss at the end. Somehow dropped me to fifth place, despite there was no other undefeated player in that round. But, whatever. It was my first regional. I'll take fifth place, it's pretty good. It's just kind of annoying to miss the fourth spot to get the deck box. Anyways, so this is a pure Infernoid build, so it doesn't play any non-Infernoid monsters in the main deck. I'll run through it, but I mean you can see what's here. There are 2 Anoku, 2 Deviati, 2 Atondel, 2 Satesmas, 1 Sajet. He sucks, but he's level 6, so if Decatron gets Veilered, you can sync with him to make level 7 synchros, or you can sync with Piatti to make the level 6 Gaia Knight. Also, if you make Decatron into Pirmaeus, you can use Piatti to get a level 7. They just give you more level options, but they aren't good. But I do use Piatti a lot to pull cards out of my opponent's hands if I just can't win the game, which I did do yesterday against the Pepe deck. It was helpful. I'll run through the whole matchups afterwards. 2 Petrulias, 2 Harmodix, 2 Antras, 3 Decatrons, and 1 Pirmaeus. Pirmaeus I like a lot, but he's not the best. But I like putting him out there. It kind of forces your opponent to activate cards before you target them, because once you target them, they're gone. Actually, in the last round, my opponent activated an Effect Veiler on my Decatron, just so he can chain his Vanity's Emptiness, but it still got sent back to his deck, so it wound up not working. But, yeah. Let's continue. Has 1 for 1, 1 Monster Gates, 3 Reasonings, 1 Rekindling, 2 Twin Twisters, 1 Burial from a Different Dimension, 2 Breakthrough Skills, which are really here for Monarchs. Deals with Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend, Idea, Eidos, but I didn't play any Monarchs at all. The tech of the deck, this stupid card my brother suggested as a joke. We were discussing what the toughest matchup was, and I said Cosmo and Monarchs, because they recur just as fast as I do, or faster. And the best thing I can do is make it so my monsters didn't have to crash every time to beat them. It also allowed Satesmas to actually attack over a Dark Destroyer, so he can banish whatever the resulting monster was with his effect. So using the skill successor Banish from Graveyard gives him 800 attack points during my turn, but not the turn it went to the graveyard. If I just set it, it can gain 400 attack during either player's turn, but I honestly didn't use it that way. It got milled a lot. I also discarded it for my Void cards, which are probably what makes this deck a little unique. So let's go into the Void setup here. I play 3 Void Vanishment, and you can discard any card in your hand to search for a Void card once per turn, which has got to make this the best search card in Yu-Gi-Oh! From my perspective. It also has, if you use that, you can't summon non-Infernoids, so if you use this, you probably can OTK, unless there's already been damage done, just because you can't make Scrap Archfiend or Gaia Knight, which are generally needed to complete the OTK. But targets for this, you can search Void Seer. I rarely search it, usually gets milled. It's just as fine as it gets milled. Void Imagination, which is totally dead against Cosmo and Monarchs, and mostly dead against Water. But it was useful against every other matchup I had today. It was good against Pepe and some other things. My most commonly searched card is Purification, because every turn I can just pick Decatron back up from my graveyard. If Decatron's on the field and didn't make it into the graveyard, I pick up Deviati or Anoku instead, which they're generally in the graveyard if Decatron's stuck on field, because that's the only reason I wouldn't be able to tribute him and banish something from the graveyard. If he's a smaller card, I just tribute him off and banish something from the graveyard and then pick him back up. If he's Deviati or Inoku, I have to actually wait for my opponent to activate a spell or a trap or a monster effect just to tribute him off, so I probably won't be getting him. But I pick up Inoku and Deviati for the sake of using them for the fusion summon, because they're useless in the graveyard except for summoning, and if they're in your hand, you get fusion. Speaking of fusion, there are more of these in the side deck. Launch I go into if I really need to get going. I think I went to launch once today before purification. I don't remember. But it lets you mill any 2 Infernoids during your standby phase, so it's like a slow needlebug nest, but it's a very calculated needlebug nest. It gives you whatever you want. Yeah, I think I opened with this against a Cosmo around 7. Anyways, moving on. I played 2 Infernoid Tiaras. You don't need a third one, because you just don't. You're not really going to summon it that many times. I also only run 2 Inokus and 2 Deviatis, so I only can summon it twice. I can actually summon it 5 times, but that's just not something I'm going to do. If you summon this using the monsters from your deck, you can get 6 or more Infernoids on the summon. If you have 4 different ones in your hand, you can send the 6 other ones to get the 10 effect. If you have 2 in your hand, you can send the 6 from the deck and the 2 in your hand to get the 8 effect. And if you don't have any in your hand, or you don't want to use the ones in your hand, you can just send the 6 from the deck and get the top his first 2 effects. His first effect is to send 3 cards from your extra deck to the graveyard, so you just send 3 Cyframe Omegas, which I did against the Pepe deck. And then you just send them straight back into the extra deck and return useful things from your graveyard to your deck, like Rekindling or Burial from a Different Dimension. I think, I don't remember, but I think in my first game against Speedroids, I think it was, I actually sent back Imagination in game 1, because I only had one in the deck, so just put it back and fusion again. The most commonly I did summon Omega once in the Phantom Knights game because my opponent had 1 card in hand, and I just wanted to leave him with no cards, and he top decked nothing. But I didn't use Omega otherwise. I use Scrap Archfiend for OTKs a lot. I think I OTK'd someone with Gaia Knight. These are non-effect monsters, so if they're on board, you can still summon until your effect monsters are at 8. So you can summon one of these, and then a Tondel or Sights Moss, and then Deviati or Inoku, or 2 Tondels, and put out 8,000 damage. I know my extra deck's set up goofy here. It's just because all the monsters on the right I didn't summon. Dracosac I summoned once in a Cosmo matchup, and it's because I wanted to have additional tokens to tribute to have my Inoku be able to negate a Cosmo down, which won me a duel. Because it's really hard to keep using the Inoku more than once, because you just can't get monsters on field. I mean, with Purification, you could just summon the Decatron again and over and over and over again, keep tributing it off. But you can't pick it up if it's on the field. So if you can get a loop going where you have 2, one in the graveyard and one in the field, you can keep doing it. Clearwing I didn't summon, but I was told a cool combo by this guy named Douglas. I didn't catch his last name. He sat right next to me at the first table for round 1. And he mentioned that if you want to just boost Clearwing to 5,500 attack, just summon an Oku and negate it. I was always having trouble trying to gain attack off of monsters, like from a Tondel or Sights Moss, because every time I'd try, it would require me to tribute something, but I wanted things to have attacked already. It didn't work out so well. And he's an effect monster, so you really can't summon more than one other monster with him. So it was rare that happened, but that's definitely a good way to get him up there. So him having 55 and any other monster could attack per game, but I just didn't do it. Red Eyes Flare, I didn't summon it, but if your opponent's life is low, just throw him out there and he'll inflict burn damage. Big Eye I didn't summon, but sometimes there's a monster you want to take. My brother insisted I play Stardust Spark, but I never summoned it. But what you do is you summon him and protect himself, and summon an Oku to throw out 5,500 damage. But it didn't really happen. I didn't summon my Black Rose Moonlight. I don't know if I'm going to want to continue playing it. Scarlight, sometimes you need a monster with 3,000 attack, especially since if I don't have Skill Successor out, I need something I can get over the Monarchs. But I never summoned them. Black Rose I didn't summon, but I like to punish my opponents for playing too many cards on turn 1. It's so tempting to just blow up everything, but it usually gets negated if they have that many cards. Let me run through the extra deck. Stuff on the right I didn't really play, so I'm just going to start from the left. I had a third Twin Twister for if I thought I'd get flooded or floodgated, or if I was playing some sort of pendulum deck, so I played it a couple times. I didn't really expect to get floodgated a lot because I kept playing Cosmo and they weren't going to Iron Wall. The Pepe deck pulled Iron Wall one game, but I had Twin Twister in hand, so it didn't matter. I think I also managed to hit a scale in a game and slow him down. I have 2 more Imaginations, which I side in against like Pepe or any deck that runs an extra deck. They win it against Fluffles. By playing 3 Imaginations, 3 Vanishments, you kind of gain 6 Reasonings because they fill the graveyard. The only issue is you don't want to leave Tierra on board. It's big, but it's a big useless monster. It's got 3,400 attack, but it's level 11. Prevents you from summoning anything else. If you actually get 2 Imaginations going, you could reduce them to 1, summon a bunch of other stuff, and then just tribute them off. And then you could fusion again, because you can't fusion if you have an extra deck monster from the deck, but if you just tribute them off and then do it again, you can bring up his attack. Your damage is halved when you have Imagination on field, so you can kill it yourself with the Patrulia. Deviati actually can't kill Void cards, so you can't Deviati this away. A good card to play instead might be Galaxy Cyclone. You can actually play Cyclone on your own Imagination, but I can't justify playing a card that isn't an out to what it needs to be an out for, so it can't out an Iron Wall because it can't banish from the graveyard, so I can't justify it. The 2 Wabakus that I actually played went in against Cosmo when I was made to go first, but that was all it was really for. If I went first, I didn't want to die, so it didn't come up on turn 1, but it did prevent me from losing a duel, so it did turn into a win, so it worked, I guess. 3rd Breakthroughs for Monarchs, I didn't play any. The Trap Stuns, I wanted to play Fairy Wind, but I didn't want to destroy my trap cards, so the thought was if I play Trap Stun, I can protect my own cards, because Deviati doesn't kill them when it's summoned. That's actually why I got into the Infernoid deck to begin with. Deviati doesn't kill Void cards, so it's more of a Harpies for me than it is as a Heavy Storm for everybody else who plays it. So I could Trap Stun to prevent counter traps from going off, so if I know my opponent's playing a bunch of Solemn Strikes and things, just prevent them from doing anything. I sided in a couple times, but I honestly never had it on field. The one time it got on field, it got MST'd, so who cared? Didn't matter. Fiend Comedian. Heads, I banished my opponent's graveyard. Tails, I mill a bunch of cards, so I never drew it, but it was in against the Fluffles. I didn't side in against anything else. Soul Drain went in once against Cosmo, try and prevent them from recurring, but I didn't draw it. I meant to put it in against Mermails, but I forgot. But either way, I just got smoked, so it didn't matter. Torrential I never played. 3rd Wabaku, I just couldn't find what I wanted to pull out to play it. I didn't play test properly, so I had a bunch of useless cards on my side. I did play my 2nd Void Seer once against Phantom Knights, but I wound up not needing it, so I kind of feel like I didn't play it. The MST I never put in, because the Twin Twister went in, and then I didn't know what to do. So yeah. Round 1 I played Speedroids, 2-0. Round 2 I played Satellar Knights, 2-0. I just kept banishing the 2nd monster in the graveyard when he'd go for it, so he couldn't summon any XC monsters, he couldn't get anything going. Round 3, Fluffles. I got lucky and managed to. He played magical hats when I attacked the Fluffle Owl, and he put two toy vendors out there. So I managed to hit the Fluffle Owl, and at the end of the battle phase, I managed to banish one of the two toy vendors, and there was a judge call as to whether his cards would be destroyed before I got to banish them. Because magical hats they destroyed at the end of the battle phase, but as a turn player, I had priority to activate my effects first, so I banished it. The second one went to the graveyard and he got a card, but he needed both. He would have got them both if I missed. Let's see, what else? Round 4, I played Cosmo, some guy from my locals who, Ignacio, shout out every time I play him. It's an amazing game and it scares me. But it was 1 and 2. So I lost the first one, I won the other two, so 2-1 there. That's where the Draco Sack came in. Game 5 was Pepe, which I only won because he killed my own Tiara for me, because it was in my own way. He kind of forced me to play a Void Seer on it, so it made it really hard for him to kill, but when he finally killed it, it did free me up to OTK him. Actually, I didn't OTK him. I summoned Piatti, I pulled a scale out of his hand, and tried to pull a scale out of his hand, but I cleared his board with Sights Moss, and yeah, him clearing my levels didn't work out for him. Round 6 I played Cosmo, 2-0'd, got lucky. Skill Successor allowed me to have Sights Moss attack and banish. Attack destroyers and banish the summoned monsters. That happened in Game 4 and Game 6. Game 7 my opponent was kind of shady, and I didn't like things he was doing. I mean, it's my first time playing, but I'm pretty sure you don't shuffle up your deck, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put them back on top, waiting for the time, and then cut at some point. So I really should have called the judge, but I didn't. As a noob, it's just I wasn't ready for it. I've been playing since July, but so I'm not a total noob, but I haven't played in a regional, so I don't know. It's just not something I was thinking about. Game 8 was against Phantom Knights. He bricked both games, and I OTK'd both games, so I'll take it. And Game 9, I played Mermails and got OTK'd by a Brilliant Fusion. So Brilliant Fusion allowed him to play double summon with a better result. And I had a breakthrough skill, and I had Decatron at his Deviati. I negated 2 monster effects, and it couldn't stop him from OTKing me. In Game 2, I needed to draw a monster, and didn't, so game ended. If I had to make a change, I'd probably see if any of these Synchro monsters can be replaced with something more useful. I mean, I'd like to play Abyss Dweller, but I only play 2 Petrulias. I'm thinking about if I were to pull these 5 cards, I guess a Petrulia could be put in if I really felt like a Dweller was needed. It's just not enough force to do it. Synchros just make more sense, and I didn't know what to put in. I suppose I really hate playing one-ofs, like Soul Drain, just because if I'm going to side something to stop a deck, I need to draw it, and I can't. 1 is not enough. If I'm going to draw something, I want 3 of it. Wabaku, I felt the same way, but I just couldn't find the 3rd card to pull. If it's not against Monarchs and Cosmos, I would pull the Skill Successors for everything. So in the Pepe game, these came out, these went in. Let's see, I want to play Chain Disappearance was the idea I came up with. Chain Disappearance would actually banish Neptibus and hopefully prevent me from getting OTK'd in the future. But that's it. Comment below if you have any questions, and have a good day.